Hi everyone, welcome back to the more YouTube channel. It's Chris back with the Aftermath. This is a show we do when the dust has settled down from the instant post-match reaction to Newcastle United's latest game, which happened to be a 2-0 defeat at St James's Park against high-flying Aston Villa, who, let's be honest with you, didn't really need to come full pelt against Newcastle United because we just literally played exactly how they expected us to play. And that's the whole point of this video, really. I'm talking about why Newcastle United are completely ineffective, but also utterly predictable by teams. Now, to beat Newcastle United, it's not a difficult formula, right? You just have to drop into a low block and then tell them to come and break you down, and they struggle to do so, especially without a talisman and possibly the only creative influence in the entire team this season, which is Bruno Guimaraes, who missed this game with an ankle injury. Now, that's no slight on young Lewis Miley, who came in to replace him. You know how much I rate Lewis Miley. And I thought at times in this game, Lewis Miley was the only one looking to get on the ball to make something happen. But he looked up, and what he was met with was wingers who weren't making runs, weren't cutting inside. Johan Visser, who was sitting too deep. And a couple of times where we actually did a nice overlap and got the ball across the box. Johan Visser's on the edge of the box, admiring the cross and nowhere near where a centre forward should be. Just a reminder, that guy cost you 50 million quid in the summer, right? And he was supposed to be the guy to come in to replace Callum Wilson, not Alexander Isak. The other lad who replaced Alexander Isak was 69 million quid. He can't get a game and he can't buy a fucking goal at the moment because his confidence has dropped right off of a cliff. And that is really, really scary. I'll get into that in a little bit more detail in a second. But the biggest issue that I've got with Newcastle United right now, certainly in the Premier League, is the complete and utter lack of any creativity, any courage, any confidence, any bravery just to have a go, just to take a shot, just to have a chance. Look what Aston Villa did. Their goal, when they come through, it was one-touch passing, cut Newcastle United through, and Buendia pulled in a nice little pocket of space, and that's what he found, and that's why he pulled the trigger, and that's why he shot, and that's why he managed to get the goal. And that's what happens when you buy a ticket, you win the lottery. And Newcastle United aren't buying any tickets. They're not even playing with fucking scratch cards, these lot. They're passing sideways, backwards. They're getting the edge of the box, and then they get a nosebleed and go, fuck, pass it backwards, pass it sideways. Shit, what am I doing? Oh, pass it to Lewis Hall on the overlap. Oh, no, I'll ignore that, says Anthony Gordon. I'll let him run in the overlap, ignore it. And then when I turn around, he's already running back because he's offside. There's a complete lack of attacking intelligence from this Newcastle United team this season. And people can come and say, oh, well, we're Champions League, oh, great in Champions League. We're playing against worse teams in the Champions League, right? We beat PSV comfortably 3-0 in the Champions League, who are top of the Eredivisie, 16 points clear. They wouldn't beat fucking Fulham, them lot. They really wouldn't, right? The Premier League is way ahead in terms of the other European leagues right now. It just simply is, right? These teams come up against our mid-table Premier League teams in Europa League competitions, and they get battered, most of them. They get absolutely served by the Premier League teams because the Premier League is quicker, faster, and stronger. And sometimes just being able to run and being strong is not going to be enough, because that's what Newcastle United do really well. They run and they're strong and they can, challenge headers and all that other stuff, right? But they cannot pick a lock. They can't pick a lock at all. They try and take a fucking sledgehammer to the door, and the door's not going to open that way. You got to be technical, you got to be crafty, you got to be clever, you got to pick a lock, and we cannot do that because we don't have players that can pick locks. Bruno Guimaraes can sometimes do it because he sees things that his teammates don't see, but this team is so devoid of creativity and innovation that when we have teams like Aston Villa, good football teams who have a nice blend of athleticism and technical ability in their side, when they come to Newcastle United, they have a set game plan. And that's what Emre did. Emre changed the game. Halfway through the game, he changed the game. And he was able to tactically outsmart Eddie Howe. And he's not the only manager who's done that. Fuck me, Ruben Amram did it a couple of weeks back before he got binned from his job. He tactically outsmarted Eddie Howe at Old Trafford because it was pretty clear that Newcastle could have played for 3 weeks and they wouldn't have broke down and scored against an awful Manchester United side. And this is a real concern. This is a bit that I don't understand about the cult of Eddie Howe followers, right? Listen, park what I'm saying for a second, right? Is what Eddie Howe has done at Newcastle brilliant? Yes, right? Did he take us from relegation fodder to Champions League? Yes. Did he win us a cup? Yes, right? All of that stuff is absolutely true, right? But you know what? All of this stuff is true as well. Is he struggling in the Premier League this season? Yes. Is he being tactically outsmarted and outthought by loads of managers? Yes. Does he have any plan B from the sideline? No. Does he know how to play with his £69 million centre forward? No, he fucking doesn't, right? Has his signings been good? No, they haven't. They've been completely ineffective, with the exception of Malik Chow, because you can't really say Baltimore's been class now. He came into the club, weird enough, and he was just playing off raw muscle memory of what he was playing at Stuttgart and Germany. And that's probably why he got the goals, because he was coming off a high of being brilliant in the Bundesliga, being the Germans' new leading man. He come to Newcastle United. We had no other choice. And the team had to just sling the ball up to him and hope for the best. And he scored every single shot that he took practically. But now he's had time to play with his football club. They've had time to understand that player. They've gone backwards. He's gone backwards as a player. They've gone backwards in terms of playing to his strengths. And I could understand if Visser was scoring goal after goal and was charging at centre halves and cutting inside, winning penalties or hitting the crossbar or fucking scoring goals. But he's not. He scored a couple of tap-ins, right? And he's not scoring loads of goals. He looks a yard off the pace. You all look at his heat map for this game against Villa. Most of his time was spent outside the box, not inside the box. And he was supposed to be the player who played within the widths of the post. And that's why we signed him. Listen, you didn't have to take a genius to figure this out. You don't need Poirot or Miss Marple to figure out this fucking mystery. Newcastle United panic bought the two centre forwards at the bought in the summer, right? They really did. And they weren't the first two they went for. Visser might have been always that choice for Callum Wilson, and I do believe they got that player. But this is no slight on Nick Votamada. They went for Ekitike, didn't get him. They went for Benjamin Sesko and didn't get him, right? And both of those players are total different players to Nick Votamada. They play with pace. They play with power. Sesko's good in the air. He's quick. He's strong. Ekitike is very like Isak, quick, technical, ability to kind of find pockets of space, play on the shoulder, beat his last man. Very technically good. Those are the players that it looked like we were after, and we signed a completely different player. But to be fair to Votamada, he's an excellent centre forward, but we're trying to play with the setup for these lads, not this lad. And it's been so long now in the season, I don't understand how the manager can get a free pass for this still being the case. If you want to get the best out of this player, you've got to set the team up to play with him, right? And that involves either him being in a withdrawn role with a proper centre forward in front of him who's going to be in the box, or if he's going to be the number 9, you need a number 10 to occupy the space that Votamada feels like he has to occupy and push him up and keep him up. But we can't do either. So the manager only did it once against Bournemouth. Weird enough, Votamada got an assist, should have got 2 if Visser had his fucking boots on, not his slippers, against Bournemouth in the Cup. So technically that was a successful trial of that whole thing. A game like Aston Villa shows up Eddie Howe's tactical cowardice when it comes to being a manager, right? Or it's arrogance or it's stubbornness. It's probably a massive cocktail of all of the above, right? This guy thinks that he's like Mike Bassett. He thinks 4-3, and that's it. And I ain't going to change, right? It doesn't matter that Villa are completely in control of that game. We knew they were in control of that game. Doesn't matter how much. We could have had 98% possession to their 2, and they still were in control of that game because they know Newcastle won't have the nuts to shoot from the edge of the box or commit the goalkeeper or anything like that. So they knew what they were going to do at Newcastle United, and they played it out perfectly. We were like a book, and they read the story front to back, and everything happened exactly how they thought it was going to happen, right? That's what happened. What Eddie Howe should have done is he should have changed it up altogether. He had the players on the bench to do it. He could have went, right, fuck this. I'm going to take Joe Litton off before he was carried off because he was fatigued and done his groin. I'll come back to that in a second. He could have dropped Miley and Tonali into a double pivot midfield, dropped Nick Votamata as a 10 in behind Johan Visser, Barnes and Gordon either side, and Villa would have went, oh shit, we weren't expecting that. Oh, what's happened there? We may have to change something to cope with that. Or that might have even got us back in the game. If Nick Votamata had been deeper and had that space, he could have found those passes around the corner for Gordon or Barnes or Visser. We might have got back into the game. We might have won this game. But the manager just won't do it. He's like, right, that's not working. Emery's completely sussed out what I'm doing. But I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll take off Visser. I'll put Votamata up front, exactly the same position, and expect the same result or expect a different result. I'll take off Gordon, put Barnes left as he does every fucking game. He's not got the balls to drop Gordon. I'll put Alanga on, who actually was a brighter spark. And That's what I'll do. I'll bring on Jacob Ramsey for Joe Linton and expect something completely different, right? But I'll put them all in the same positions and tell them to play all the same way as the lads who I've just taken off were. How's that going to work, right? I'll tell you how it's going to work. It's not going to work. And that's what's happened the majority of the season, right? Before you start wetting your knickers, I'm not even shouting Howe out here, right? Because I don't even think that's a conversation to be had. This guy is not going anywhere until the end of the season. But what I think will happen at the end of the season will be no European football, because Newcastle United are leaving way too many points out there on the table by making stupid mistakes and falling into the trap of being predictable. Now, we're in the transfer window, right? And this manager is warbling on about PSR after spending copious amounts of money, over 200 million quid in the summer, on bad signings, right? Or signings that he can't fit into his team. Maybe the lads aren't bad players, but he's not figuring out a way to fit different players into his team. He's not figuring out a way to play it with Elanga's strengths or Ramsey's strengths, certainly Voltemada's strengths. I watched Elanga at close quarters today. And to be fair to the kid, and I was really scathing on him on a few videos ago, nobody's giving him the ball. He's making a run. He's got the beat and the pace for the fullback. And they're looking, they're not even looking up. They're looking to the side, or they're looking backwards, back to Botman, cross to Miley, back to you, back to Hall. And at this point, Elanga's already made the run and he's coming back. So by the time they look back up, they go, oh, where are you, Elanga? He's coming back from an offside position because he's already made the run. And I can see that. You can see that. Why can't the manager see that? And why is he not doing something about that? Why is he not trying to fix that problem? You know, and then you see Trippier struggling again. Legs are going. Has been a brilliant footballer, right? Not just for us, but for every team he's played in and the England side. Has been a brilliant footballer. Really struggling in a game like that. That is a good Premier League team with energy, with quality, with football intelligence. And Trips was struggling the more that game got on. He really, really was. You got young Leo Shahar on the bench. Me and Mark are going to talk about this on the show tonight, so tune in for that. And he just doesn't even give him a sniff, where it's pretty clear that we're not getting back into that game. Give the lad 10 or 15 minutes against Aston Villa, the third best team in the Premier League. Give the lad some time. Just see what he does. Might surprise you. The two best players on the park today were 19 and 20 years old in the shape of Lewis Miley and Lewis Hall. So why not give young Leo Shahar a chance at 17 or 18 or whatever he is, right? Give him a chance. What's it going to hurt? Is he going to do worse than Kieran Trippier in that game? You know, for the 70-odd minutes, 80-odd minutes, wherever he's played. No balls from the manager, no courage, nothing different. You know, give them something else different to think about. What would have happened if Leo Shahar had come on the pitch, sprinted up the fucking line, whipped in a ball, and Voltemada had nutted it in the back of the net for 2-1? What would have happened then? They would have been like, oh, fuck, how do we deal with that? You know, Luka Dean was already in the yellow card. What if Shahar dipped the shoulder, went around and got him sent off? You know, have some balls, Eddie Howe. Do something different. You know, but we need creativity in this team. We're screaming out for creativity in this team. And he's not even contemplating it. He's not even thinking about it. All this talk about Keith Schmidt, I think half of that is bullshit about Keith Schmidt. I really do. If he's going to sign Keith Schmidt, you probably play him as a fucking number 6. You know, we need creativity in that midfield. We need it. There has to be creativity. If it's not on the pitch at the time, it's got to be at the bench to come and change a game like that. Wendy has showed us what we can do. Why are we allergic to shooting from the edge of the box? I don't understand that. I generally don't. We've got players with technique who can do it. Encourage them to do it. Do it. Like, I mean, Fabian Schär, when he's fit, God bless him, doesn't need any encouragement. He shoots from the fucking car park half the time. But nobody else in that pitch has taken it upon themselves to do what Bruno does and say, fuck it, I'm just going to do this myself. I know Bruno's an excellent footballer, right? But a lot of their players on that pitch are really, really good players. And they could have took an opportunity to have a go themselves. And that's a real problem for me with Newcastle. I think we're overcomplicating our play. You know, in the past, we were very direct. We were very straightforward. We pressed you high. We won it back. We give it to someone like Isak who could just do something out of nothing, right? We're missing that player. We're missing that player. And I'm not saying that, you know, we need Isak back in particular, right? And I'll never forgive him for the shit that he pulled. But Isak was an X-factor, unpredictable player who could do something out of nothing. Remember the goal against Forest? You know, the way he played against Spurs, you know, the way he ripped Arsenal apart over them 2 legs. We need a player who can just do something that they're not expecting to do. And this manager will not entertain a player like that. He won't have him in the first team. He won't have him in the squad. He won't have him in starting 11. He's not interested in an X-factor player. He had one player who could do this in the shape of ASM, and he flicked them out as quick as he could. And we don't have any game changer within that squad. when you're in a game like that. Villa played it really well, really professionally, but the blueprint how to beat Newcastle is out there. The secret is out. Doesn't matter what I'm saying or any other content creator. The secret to beat Newcastle is out there. You sit in a low block, you cede possession, and you say, come on, Newcastle, what you got? And generally the answer is not a lot. And especially when Bruno Guimaraes isn't on the pitch, it's even less. And it's really, really frustrating to see. Like, I didn't even think that we were that bad, but we're just ineffective. And that's what I've called this video, ineffective. And that's what Newcastle are, ineffective. We don't have people who've got courage to shoot. We don't have people who want to pull a trigger and try something. Our centre forwards that we've signed to replace the magnificent one that were left are looking way below par to the quality of the player that we had before. And it's a real concern. And now we're in the transfer window and we're making noises that we're not signing any players because we don't have the headroom or whatever the bullshit nonsense that's coming out there. And we're watching players drop like flies because once again, the manager is flogging them time after time after time after time. FA Cup ties that most of us wouldn't have been that arsed if we'd gone out in, to be brutally honest with you, because we had the Carabao Cup semi-final, the Champions League, and the Premier League to concentrate on. And he keeps playing the same bodies over and over again. Kieran Trippier's played 3 games in a week at 35 years old, and he's just come back from being out for 2 months because this manager won't trust Leo Shahar, or he won't trust, Alex Murphy at centre-half and moving Howe out to right back or something like that. What is going on there, man? What is going on there? We've got the same problems that we had 2-3 years ago in the Champions League, where we burnt the whole squad out with a bunch of kids on the bench, one of which isn't even a professional footballer really anymore, as he's playing over in America, and getting a degree or whatever, and he's been in the Ballers League. Lovely lad, nearly came on the channel, we just couldn't tie things up. Lovely kid, but he was playing for Newcastle Blue Star, you know what I mean? And that's the kind of bench that we had against PSG, and it's looking like we're going to be devoid of players again, and we'll have kids on the bench that he won't trust and he won't bring on. We're releasing young players because he doesn't give them the chance. He hangs on to these players till they're right in their 30s, and when they break down for ages. Jamal Lascelles, his body's not right. Why is he still at the club? Get rid. Go get somebody else in. Get another centre-half, or promote one of the lads from the youth team and fucking play him. Play a lad, play a centre-half, or play a right back or whatever. Do something different than what you're doing anyhow, because this is not working. It's not working. It works in little tiny spells and moments in the season, but the majority of the season, what he's doing isn't working. It really isn't, but he needs to do something different. There needs to be a shift in ideology. He needs to break from his 4-3-3 and try a plan B, a different formation with different players in different positions. He needs to look at the transfer market. Surely Newcastle can sign a player or two. You can get 1 or 2 on loan, man. Do something. Add some injection to that first team squad. Add some cover for bodies that are dropping like flies. Bring somebody in who can do something out of the ordinary. Why can't we do this as a squad? Because the manager's too stubborn to do it. And it really frustrates the shit out of me. It really does. I've seen that game play out so many times. I've seen us play worse in games. 2 world-class saves from Martinez could have been a different game altogether. But there wasn't any point really in that game where I felt that Villa were really threatened by Newcastle. I really don't think that. I mean, the first moments with Tonali is a great bit of skill from Tonali, and half an inch either side, he gets the goal, and that's a different game altogether. Lucas Miley did brilliant to get his header off. He actually manages to jump past the Villa player who's not expecting him to come in. But outside of that, there was nothing really. There was no real clear-cut quality from Newcastle United. There was no real composure or creativity or flair in the final third. And this is the biggest issue we've got this season. We lack all of that. We lack creativity. We lack decisiveness. We lack flair. We lack innovation. We certainly lack clinical cutting edge in terms of shooting when the opportunities are there to shoot. And it's a real concern as to what that's going to be for Newcastle United at the end of the season. For me, I still think a non-European finish is probably what we're going to get. And come the end of the season, maybe we'll see a change in the manager. But let me know in the comments below what you think about that ineffective performance. Are you worried that we'll see that again, copy and paste, towards the end of the season and nothing will change? Again, would you sign somebody in this transfer window to add a bit of creativity, to do something? And if he's not going to do that, would you not want to see somebody like a Song Soo on the bench just to give an X factor, to do something? I know he's a young lad and he's very unproven, but they'll not know anything about the kid could win you a penalty, could win you a free kick, could score your goal, could set a goal up. Why aren't we doing something? Why aren't we changing things? I don't know. I mean, Will Asula's unpredictable, I suppose. Can he come back and be the answer? There's more questions than answers as always in Newcastle, but I can't sit and watch this ineffective performance time and time again and not ask difficult questions. And that's what you can do at Evermore. It's a safe place to ask difficult questions. If you trust the manager unequivocally, then great. More power to your elbow. If you want him out, entirely up to you. That's your stance as a fan. If you are in the middle somewhere like me where you think getting him out is probably better for the long-term progression of Newcastle, but he probably won't go till the season's over before the stability side of it. That's where I'm sitting at the minute. I think this will be Eddie Howe's last season as Newcastle manager. I really do. Because I think no European football will put pressure on the board to make a decision and change things. But I don't know who the manager would be to take Newcastle to that next level. But we need some change. There's no doubt about it, because what we're doing is not working. We don't have any innovation. We don't have any plan B. We don't have any answers to questions that the Premier League is asking a lot of teams this season. Teams are tougher to break down. Teams are more defensively resolute. Teams are more creative. Teams have got pace. Teams have got goals in them. You know, the Premier League itself has increased in standard. So even the teams that you used to think you would batter, you struggle to get results against unless you've got something special to get that result. Even City have felt that this season. They've got an unbelievable squad. But Newcastle are definitely feeling that. Huge week coming up. Paris Saint-Germain, Liverpool at the weekend. And then after that, you've got Spurs, you've got City, you've got Chelsea coming up. You've got Man United coming up. The Mackhams are coming up, you know, over the hill in the next few months as well. It's a real concern if Newcastle don't sort themselves out, and the extra injuries ain't helping. But thanks for watching, guys. Drop a comment below, like the video, hype it, be a member if you want to be, whatever you want to be. Thanks for watching. We'll be back tonight. What's going on? Come and join us in the live. There'll be loads more chat like this. Got loads to get stuck into. Have a bell then. See you later.
Heroes celebrate. They have done it.